Hey guys, welcome to a special edition of Notsam Wrestling. No siren, but we do have feelings. Yesterday, I was in San Diego, getting ready to head over to the San Diego Comic-Con to host the WWE's panel with Mattel when news dropped that we had lost Hulk Hogan, that Hulk Hogan had passed away at the age of 71. And I was taken aback by it. Because there had been rumors of Hulk being in poor health, but some of those rumors had been said that they weren't true, and then confirmed, and then so you didn't really know what was going on. But I think more so because of the idea of an icon passing, and I say icon for the reason I was writing a post about it on Instagram, and I posted a photo of myself when I was 7 or 8 years old, and it was Halloween, and I was dressed up as Hulk Hogan. And as I'm writing this thing, I'm realizing that I'm more emotional about it than I thought I would be. That I was, it was hitting me in a heavier way than I thought it would hit me. And I think that's because I would imagine most of you, had zero connection with a guy named Terry. I didn't know who that person was. I've never met that person. That person has no connection to me, and probably not to most of you. What I think we're all connected to is this larger-than-life character that was embodied in human form that fueled the enthusiasm that we had and defined what it was that we had enthusiasm before, or that we had enthusiasm for, when so many of us became fans of professional wrestling as kids. Hulk Hogan was right up there with Lion-O from the Thundercats, with He-Man, with the Ninja Turtles, with Hulk Hogan. But out of all those characters that I just mentioned, only one of them was embodied by a human being. And I think that's where the dichotomy, I guess, comes in, that these other characters truly are immortal, that they will last forever because they never really existed to begin with. They're a creation, and this creation can just last forever. But when a creation is only brought to life by a human being, then the creation becomes mortal, and you kind of get hit with that when you're given the evidence of it. I think that the thing about Hulk Hogan is that character in the world of professional wrestling defined what modern professional wrestling in a mainstream and popular sense would be. That for a lot of us, myself included, when I first fell in love with professional wrestling, it was the professional wrestling that was popularized around Hulk Hogan. He was the nucleus of this entire thing. There's probably, and without bias, nobody even close to being more impactful on modern professional wrestling as we know it than Hulk Hogan. And I don't mean because he had accomplished one really huge thing in this world of wrestling. I mean because he did it multiple times over. There are people, most people, and I mean 99.9% of the people who become professional wrestlers will dream, and will probably not have that dream fulfilled, to do a piece of what Hulk Hogan did. And Hulk Hogan did it multiple times over. So Hulk Hogan enters this world of professional wrestling in the late 70s. He's trained by Hiro Matsuda. He ends up a few years in the WWF. And of course, the old story is that he shows up, he's a villain. He's managed by classy Freddie Blassie. And, he's not a phenomenon yet, but it's pretty clear that he's different. There's something instant about him that draws attention. It's the bleached blonde hair. It's the handlebar mustache. It's the fact that he's 6'7", 300 pounds of pure muscle. Classy Freddie Blassie is talking him up. He has this ego about him that is built to be this top villain. And the most clear-cut evidence of that is that Sylvester Stallone sees it and casts him, or wants to cast him, in Rocky III as Thunderlips. And he goes to Vincent J. McMahon, Vince McMahon Sr., and says, I'd like to be in this Rocky III movie. Vince Sr. says, no way. If you do that, you're done here. And he does it. Hogan goes and does Rocky III, and he's done in WWF. However, it proved to be the right move. He ends up going to the AWA in Minnesota, and that's really where we start to see the fire start to spark under this thing called Hulkamania. He starts to create this character that was able to just draw out unbridled enthusiasm out of audiences, whether they were men, women, children, adults. That energy, that frenetic energy that we have so closely associated Hulk Hogan with for so long, it starts to develop here. But two things happen. Number one, he's in the main event and he's close, but he never gets that AWA championship. He never gets the AWA championship off of Nick Bockwinkel. And number two, Vincent J. McMahon's son, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, has decided that he wants to nationalize professional wrestling. He wants to get out of the territory system, but in order to do this, he's going to need a marquee star, a centerpiece, the North Star of what the WWF at the time could be. And he sees Hulk Hogan and he says, this is something that I want to do. And Hulk Hogan decides to take the gamble to go like, yeah, I see the vision. Nobody else has this vision right now. I see the vision. Let's go do that. And he goes over in December 1983. And within a month or two, 6 weeks maybe, of being in the WWF, WWE, he has become the world heavyweight champion. He puts down the Iron Sheik. So, and this can't, it was so impactful and so influential. That title had been on Bob Backlund for like 4 years or something like that. Bob Backlund had lost it to the Iron Sheik, who was, of course, going to be the heel transitional champion. But that territory, the world champions had been Bob Backlund and Bruno Sammartino and all these guys that were like these working class, all-American heroes. And all of a sudden, you have this guy, Hulk Hogan, who comes in, giant of a man with bleached blonde hair, and is doing more to ramp up the crowd than he is actually to hurt his opponent. But he's hitting that big boot, he's hitting that leg drop, and 1, 2, 3. In that moment is the moment that I think sports entertainment, as we came to know it, was born. That you would have this over-the-top cartoon character superhero come to life, be your world champion, and then start the merchandising around him, and start the fanfare around him, and turn him in to a bigger mainstream celebrity than anybody had been in professional wrestling in some time, especially on a national level. After beating the Iron Sheik in January of 1984 at Madison Square Garden, Hulk Hogan is the one that really built this momentum in that company that allowed rock and wrestling to take off the way that it did. Hulk Hogan and his rivalry with Roddy Piper, because that's the thing about a babyface like Hulk Hogan. You need to have those absolute heels. And of course, the Iron Sheik being the foreign menace to the all-American hero was the perfect way to introduce Hulk Hogan. But ultimately, when it came to something like, the Rock and Wrestling Connection, the War to Settle the Score, and then eventually WrestleMania, you needed somebody who fans wanted to see get beat as badly as you needed somebody like Hulk Hogan who fans wanted to see win. And that's why you got that magic between Hot Rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper, and Hulk Hogan. And he not only has all this, but he starts to bring in celebrities. Mr. T shows up. Hogan goes mainstream, is merchandised everywhere. You see him all over the place. He's hosting SNL with Mr. T the night before WrestleMania 1. He's got a Saturday morning cartoon, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. I mean, he is everywhere. He's as big as he's at that point as big of a mainstream character as you can get, and that's evident in the amount of arenas that he's now selling out. And he's working night after night after night, going to building after building after building, sometimes 2 shows in one day. And he carries that momentum. And the WWE after WrestleMania 1 is a massive success with all the celebrities that it drew in around this sort of Hulk Hogan-centered product. Your Muhammad Ali's, like I said, Mr. T's, Billy Martin's there, Liberace's there, everything. It is the blueprint for what was to come. And then they start building monsters to face Hulk Hogan. King Kong Bundy, all these insurmountable foes. And you get to a point where Hulk Hogan has been WWE champion for 3 years, and you're wondering, how can you get people to keep believing that Hogan might get beat, especially as wrestling is modernizing. We're starting to get out of that era where you can have champions hold titles for year after year after year and have that same crowd keep coming to Madison Square Garden. This is a much bigger product now, and you need to put on a show that is going to get the world talking. So they set up this amazing angle on the Piper's Pit. What an amazing Andre the Giant, who had been, even before Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant was the first real, maybe not the first, but in the modern era, the blueprint, again, for the attraction wrestler. Andre the Giant's on the card. I'm buying a ticket because I have to see him. But he had been a babyface this whole time. And he had even had matches, which we didn't talk about at the time, but he had matches with Hulk Hogan when Hulk Hogan was a villain. And you see, when Hogan first won the title, Andre's right there in the locker room, pouring the wine, the champagne on him, and Andre shows up on the Piper's Pit with Bobby the Brain Heenan after Hulk Hogan has gotten this massive trophy for being the wrestler of the year, and Andre the Giant has gotten a significantly smaller trophy for being undefeated for as long as he's been undefeated for. And it sets up this idea that Andre is not happy for Hulk Hogan's success, and that something has got into Andre's ear. Maybe it's that weasel, Bobby the Brain Heenan. But Andre has realized that Hulk Hogan, as a quote-unquote friend to Andre, has never in all the years that he's been champion afforded Andre the opportunity for a title shot. And Andre turns on Hogan and drops him to the ground and tears the shirt. And when he tears the shirt, the cross that Hulk Hogan always wears rips his flesh on his chest. And Roddy Piper has that line, "You're bleeding." And you start to feel it. And then they do the contract signing, and this builds over the course of months to the point where you get to WrestleMania 3, which, as much as WrestleMania 1 is a mega success, WrestleMania 3 is the showcase of what WrestleMania truly can be. And WrestleMania 3 is, anywhere between 70 and 90,000 people, depending on who you ask, are in the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, to watch Hogan versus Andre. And there's so much lore about this match, and every time he'd do a quote-unquote out-of-character interview, which I'm not sure there was ever an out-of-character interview, but every time he would do a quote-unquote out-of-character interview, he would talk about how he didn't even know what was going to happen and this and that. The lore, trying to keep the lore alive. But he beat Andre the Giant. And this cemented Hulk Hogan as the guy. And of course, Hulk and Andre was such a draw that it would continue throughout, but that's the moment. Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant and pinning him in the middle of tens of thousands of people in Pontiac, Michigan is the one quintessential moment. I say bigger even than the Iron Sheik title win of all of it. That's when it was like, he's the man. Nothing can stop this guy. He's our guy. Hogan wouldn't lose the title until they did an angle on Saturday night's main event, which again, you're going back to like what's really interesting about Hogan is not just the impact that he had, not just the fact that he created, I mean, to an extent, modern day fandom, the idea that people would cosplay as Hulk Hogan and show up to these shows, buy every piece of merchandise, literally eat the vitamins that had Hulk Hogan's name on them, make oatmeal cookies, ice cream bars, action figures, everything, posters on everybody's wall, an entire generation, myself included, Matt Cardona included. He posted a photo of it on his Instagram. Had that, Paul Walter Hauser included, had that poster of Hulk Hogan flexing with the tape measure. 24-inch pythons. We all knew it. And WrestleMania 3 was that cementing moment. The rivalry continued. Everybody, you talk about all these moments, and I'm only bringing up these moments that everybody remembers. The Saturday night's main event angle where Andre beat Hogan for the title. After 4 years of Hogan holding that title, Andre beat him after a fast count by referee Dave Hebner, who we found out later was actually an evil twin, Earl Hebner, who had been bought out by the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. The $1 Million Man then purchases the title from Andre the Giant. The $1 Million Man declares himself WWE champion. It is Jack Tunney gets right in there and says, no way, not on my watch. And we get to WrestleMania 4, where a tournament is held for the WWE Championship. Hogan and Andre are advertised for WrestleMania 4 as they get a bye, but it's a second round match technically, but it's a confirmed match in the tournament. Goes to a no contest. Tournament goes all the way, and Macho Man Randy Savage is declared the WWE champion, last pinning Ted DiBiase. And for the first time since 1983, there's a new babyface on top in WWE as Hulk Hogan is going out and pursuing some other interests. Hulk Hogan's maybe not going to be on every show, not going to be there every day, except he's still there for the big shows. And over the course of a year, something that is still in contention as the best story ever told in professional wrestling, as told as we see the Mega Powers form. Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage formed this team called the Mega Powers. And they're going after the Mega Bucks, and they're going after, it's great. Miss Elizabeth is involved. It's Macho Man's first lady. But Hulk Hogan is friends with both of them until Hulk Hogan is too close with both of them. And the Macho Man Randy Savage sees lust in Hulk Hogan's eyes. And we build all the way to WrestleMania 5, which is the Mega Powers exploding. After we see this slow build over the course of the year. Starts great. Little tension starts to build. Finally, Macho snaps. Macho's now a heel. Macho becomes that heel for Hulk Hogan to conquer. And he does at WrestleMania 5. But he's still kind of thinking of stepping away. And there's all this momentum behind this new wrestler named the Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior who plows through the Honky Tonk Man. And the Honky Tonk Man's record-setting streak as Intercontinental Champion to become the champion himself. And makes it all the way to WrestleMania 6. Where a title-for-title main event is held between Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. Ultimate Warrior potentially being the first good guy superstar to be as marketable as Hulk Hogan. Everywhere you go, people are buying Ultimate Warrior merchandise. Everywhere you go, people are fascinated with the Ultimate Warrior. People are starting to get ready for a changing of the guard and for the Ultimate Warrior to be that new face. And the Ultimate Warrior wins the match. The Ultimate Warrior becomes the WWE champion. He vacates his Intercontinental Championship, and he moves forward, except The WWE is not ready to move on without Hulk Hogan. They were willing to try it. They're not ready to move on without Hulk Hogan. And as the evil Sergeant Slaughter takes that title away from the Ultimate Warrior, the red, white, and blue shines bright, and Hulk Hogan returns as the ultimate American hero to conquer Sergeant Slaughter at WrestleMania 7, but it's not the same. Hulkamania is not the same. It's not as hot as it once was. And that flame is starting to sputter a little bit. It's hard to catch. That lightning in the bottle may have escaped the bottle, and now there ain't no bolts coming in our direction, if you know what I mean. And they try. They try. You go to the Match Made in Heaven, Match Made in Hell, SummerSlam. They bring in Sid Justice, who some would say is an effort to be maybe Sid Justice. Now they're looking for the next Hulk Hogan, right? They realize, okay, Ultimate Warrior wasn't our guy. We need to find the next Hulk Hogan because, number one, popularity is waning, and number two, his interests are starting to spread out. He's getting more and more interested in Hollywood and not necessarily being here all the time. They try with Sid Justice. He main events WrestleMania 8 with Sid. Sid's just not the guy to do it. Hogan comes back for WrestleMania 9. They're not ready to go all the way with Bret the Hitman Hart because they want that larger than life. They want to follow the Hulk Hogan model. Except the thing about Hulk Hogan is there was no Hulk Hogan model before Hulk Hogan. And I think people, they tend to forget that there is no Hulk Hogan model. It's just Hulk Hogan. So they try it with Sid. It doesn't work. They try it with Lex Luger. It doesn't work. Because there's only one Hulk Hogan. And while the WWE is struggling to figure that out, Hulk Hogan does the unthinkable. And he signs with WCW. Now, to me, Hulk Hogan changed wrestling forever when he won the championship from the Iron Sheik. And he, along with the vision that the WWE had for him, brought WWE into what we now know it is today. Well, when he did the unthinkable and he signed with WCW, was it an incredible success at first? Maybe not. However, it was far more successful than WCW had been, and instantly legitimized WCW. Instantly made people go, well, I still don't know about this other promotion, but Hogan's there. Hulk Hogan not being a part of WWE, Hulk Hogan and WWE were synonymous with each other. And now you've got Hulk Hogan over there. And with Hulk Hogan went Brutus Beefcake, went Earthquake, went Kamala, went Macho Man Randy Savage. Celebrities started showing up on WCW. Shaquille O'Neal, Mr. T. And there was this legitimate thing. You finally had that Ric Flair Hulk Hogan match that you never got in WWE. You had a flirtation of tension with Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. Now, they weren't all great. So you had the Dungeon of Doom wanting to destroy Hulkamania. And for what it's worth, I enjoyed the Dungeon of Doom. I don't know that I needed Brutus Beefcake and Hulk Hogan to headline a Starrcade, but my point is that it shifted wrestling when WCW was legitimized. However, it didn't fix the problem that WWE was also having, which was people were starting to get stale on Hulkamania. And, the thing about building a babyface as big as Hulk Hogan is there should be two waves of it. That babyface wave is huge. But then the heel wave has the potential to be just as big. We saw that with Roman Reigns most recently. Except WWE never wanted to turn Hulk Hogan heel. Just like for a long time, they didn't want to turn Roman Reigns heel. WCW didn't have the same problem. And for all that equity that WWE had built, it was WCW that got to benefit from Hulk Hogan's heel turn. And when I say benefit, boy, did they benefit. I would argue that Hulk Hogan dropping a leg on Macho Man Randy Savage and proverbially all of WCW at Bash at the Beach 96 for a generation was just as significant as Hulk Hogan dropping a leg on the Iron Sheik. Hulk Hogan, it may not have been as long, had a second run as the top draw, arguably most important star in professional wrestling when the NWO began. Because, yes, the cool factor of the NWO was the outsiders. It was Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Six Pac. But the mainstream, this is the biggest thing in wrestling right now, the gravity of it was the fact that Hulk Hogan had turned heel. And we got to know Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And for 2 years, Hollywood Hulk Hogan had another run on the tippity top in air that you could say rare air, but you could argue air that nobody had really even breathed before. And it was enough that the NWO literally overtook WCW because this angle was just so incredibly hot for as long as it was hot for. And it wasn't even about the stories that were told, because aside from Sting, we revisited Roddy Piper, we revisited Ultimate Warrior. The stories weren't that great, but just the story of Hulk Hogan being Hollywood and the story of the NWO was what it was all about. I mean, just absolute icons for 83 weeks straight. They beat Monday Night Raw in the ratings, and then they continued to beat them off and on weeks after that. And like Hulkamania before it, the NWO, of course, ran its course, and WCW as an organization ran its course. And when WWE bought WCW, a lot of the top stars, all of the top stars, had contracts with Turner. And those contracts weren't being absorbed by WWE, and they basically told everybody there, you can sit home and earn your money, or we'll pay you 50 cents on the dollar to start in WWE right now. And everybody, save for a very few, Booker T being one of them, said, no, I'm going to take the money. I'm not doing 50 cents on the dollar. I'll take the money and then we'll talk. Hulk Hogan did just that. When it was time, the NWO, which at one point was the hottest act in wrestling, just as Hulkamania had been the hottest act in wrestling. And by the way, I would argue that the NWO elevated wrestling again, as Hulkamania had elevated wrestling before it. Came over to the WWE. And there was a real life worry from people that were like, I don't know, Hulk Hogan's got this reputation for politicking. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash are troublemakers. What's going to happen when the NWO's in the WWE? And the damnedest thing happened. Because for about 3 months, there was a build of this idea that the NWO was in WWE. And we were getting a dream match at WrestleMania 18, which was Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, the WWE's biggest star. One could argue at the time the WWE's biggest babyface, and the only reason one would argue that is because Stone Cold Steve Austin was around as well. But this was the match for WrestleMania 18. I thought that the days of Hulk Hogan having iconic WrestleMania matches was done. Big WrestleMania matches, fine, but iconic WrestleMania matches, I would say 3, 5, 6. Those are the truly iconic. Andre, Macho, Warrior were the truly iconic Hogan matches at WrestleMania for me. Until I saw WrestleMania 18, and here's where the damnedest thing happened. The WWE audience, the audience in Toronto at WrestleMania, when The Rock and Hulk Hogan stood in the ring, in unison, all together, in the same building, I believe, where Hogan and Warrior had had their match. The entire building told Hulk Hogan, we don't care what you did when you left. You left here in 93. We don't care what you were doing. We don't care about the WCW run. We don't care about the NWO run. We don't care about the black and white. We don't care about any of it. We want you to be back. We want Hulk Hogan back. We want the red and yellow back. And they did that by cheering Hogan and booing The Rock. And watching the match, you can see on the fly, Hogan and Rock have to start working differently because they realize that the audience has flipped the script on both of them. And The Rock started acting like a heel because he said, we got magic here. And Hogan started finding, even though he's wearing black and white, started finding that inner Hulkster. And The Rock won that match. But the next night, the WWE realized we got it back. Let's ride this wave. And we got a nostalgia run from red and yellow Hulk Hogan. And if you weren't around for the 2000s red and yellow nostalgia run, it's one of the funnest things in wrestling. I don't think anybody saw it coming. I didn't see it coming when I was watching it as a young man. But when it happened, it was, again, magic. It was this moment that it was like, we didn't know we wanted it until we saw it. You didn't have people going, man, I hope when Hogan returns, he's red and yellow. No, you're like, oh, cool, the NWO is going to be in WWE. And then you saw Hogan in a WWE ring, and you were like, I'm feeling nostalgic, not for what he did on Nitro. I'm feeling nostalgic for why we love him, why we fell in love with him to begin with. And he went on this run. He won another WWE championship. I mean, he had angles with Brock Lesnar, a tag team championship win with Edge. Won that title from Triple H, by the way. More matches with The Undertaker. A WrestleMania match with Vince McMahon. Did a whole ridiculously fun run as Mr. America. Steps away from the WWE in 2003. Returns in 2005. Has the spectacle of a match that he had with Shawn Michaels. The memorable match that he had with Randy Orton. He's the hero that America needs when Muhammad Hassan shows up. He has that last WWE run. And I think for that character, it is so special that he got that last red and yellow run. And of course, after he leaves WWE, he, does his stuff independently, trying to, start promotions and run supercards and stuff like that. Of course, has his run in TNA, which was what it was. And then comes back to the WWE as an ambassador, as a guy who makes appearances at big shows, as just a come out and wave to the crowd. And of course, life happens, and the line between Terry and Hulk Hogan starts to get blurred, and people react the way people react. But when I realized that he was gone, I looked at the photo of myself in 1991. This was Halloween of 91. He was gearing up to fight The Undertaker at Survivor Series. He had just come off of, WrestleMania 7 and beating Sergeant Slaughter. And I looked at my little yellow T-shirt that my mom had cut into a Hulk Hogan tank top that she had written Hulk Rules in red puff paint on, and even cut the strips in the back. The white turtleneck that I was wearing that my mom had dyed in tea, so it was flesh colored, and she put shoulder pads in the arms so that I had biceps. The yellow mustache that was painted on my face. And I didn't think about. That's all I thought about. I thought about the kid who had a Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy on his bed. I thought about the fact that I've been this insane pro wrestling fan for all my life. And you go, well, where did it start? And you go, I don't know. Some of us don't know. It was just always there. Except what we do know is that if you're around my generation or the surrounding generations, really, because he hit multiple generations, what Hulk Hogan did on television is what turned us into the fans that we are. And it gave me this moment of incredible introspection and appreciation for the fact that professional wrestling was able to grow into what it was able to grow into. Primarily on the back of him, and left us with this enthusiasm that we have to this day. Pro wrestling would be a very different place had Hulk Hogan not gotten deposed after every pay-per-view for a decade. And you know what I mean? You can Monday morning quarterback anything. You could have put this guy in, you could have put that guy in, but the fact is that when Hulkamania was Hulkamania, there was nothing like it. And when Hollywood took over the NWO, there was nothing like it. And when we got that bow put on top of the package, with that nostalgia run in the 2000s, 02, 03. I mean, nothing like it. So I hope that that's what we think about. I don't know that guy, Terry. I never did. I don't know who did. But a lot of us knew Hulk Hogan. And a lot of us who collect action figures, it started with a Hulk Hogan action figure. A lot of us who have wrestling t-shirt collections. Our first t-shirt when we were a kid was the Hulk Rules t-shirt. Hulkamania t-shirt, maybe. You know what I mean? How many of us, when you go back, who was your first favorite wrestler? Well, of course, Hulk Hogan, but then he's always the jump-off point. He's always what gets you in. I got to watch this Hulk Hogan stuff, this WWE stuff. That's what it said. So those are my thoughts coming off of the loss of Hulk Hogan. I mean, it's hard to imagine a bigger overall loss in terms of impact on what pro wrestling is, and you do have to appreciate those contributions. So I thank you guys for listening to me as I talked about that a little bit. I'd love to hear what you think. Hit me with an email, leave a comment, and we will talk again real soon here on Notsam Wrestling.